Good evening, everyone, and apologies for the delay. Just wanted to make sure you guys had time to pop your popcorn and get ready. I am incredibly excited to have and honored to have Ypsilanti Township Trustee Jimmie Wilson Jr.
Hello.
Welcome, Jimmie.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. As you know, everyone, I always let my guests introduce themselves because who can speak better? Jimmie, tell everybody about you.
All right. Well, I'm Jimmie Wilson Jr. I'm a trustee in Ypsilanti Township. I am also a trustee for UAW Local 898, as well as a trustee for my church. Grew up here in the Ypsilanti area. Grew up in the West Willow neighborhood. Went to Belleville schools. Graduated from the Michigan Institute of Aviation and Technology. Got my airframe license after that. Went out on the road with that education and started working in renewable energy, building wind turbines from the ground up. Working for Siemens Energy, is working across the country, down in Texas, out in the Northwest area, Oregon, Washington. Came back home, started working for Ford Motor Company, where I'm at today. Been there 7 years now. And this summer I'll be going on the apprenticeship for electrician at there. So that's kind of brings us to today.
All right.
In a nutshell.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I was thinking before, we joked before the show, I was saying, I don't want to mess this up being too honest and everything. Because I really like this guy. Just watching through social media, seeing how on recent issues he made himself so accessible. And if I was his campaign manager, I would say, hey, don't say that. But the things that I just really appreciated the authenticity and reached out to him, and he sat down and we were just able to have real honest conversations. Yeah. And when I said I really liked him, it was like, because found out about Belleville, just it's cool to, we're township.
Right. Yeah.
We're definitely township, and separate, he's a little younger.
Although I got plenty of gray hairs to kind of, match up with you there.
But I just really appreciated the authenticity and, and just excited just how he's voted recently, and just glad to have somebody like that representing us doing that. That's enough said. But I really, when you said that I mentioned that I genuinely support you and that I don't want to be too honest and mess up, I was thinking if I were your campaign manager, and the environment thing, you got to play that up more. I didn't know anything about that, man. You worked on turbines?
Oh, yeah.
You hear that? Yeah. You are a green guy.
I'm a green guy, yeah.
I'll agree.
Full of surprises.
Yeah. But that's, so you have a view on renewable energy and such. Anything going on in the township? I know, and I'm gonna dive back into his personal background, and we're gonna get to all the recent issues. But it's important, like the state of renewable energy in the township. Mm-hmm.
First, I want to mention, since we're talking about clean energy and the Nexus Pipeline, which you probably are aware of. Which is definitely not clean energy. It, especially when the residents didn't want this pipeline, and the township board, we voted against this to come into our community. Mm-hmm. However, it's on a federal level, so there was only so much that we could do. But things like that, townships definitely focused on if the opportunity arises, we would definitely welcome renewable energy if that was the case.
Do you think with the great, and I don't know anything about the scale that's needed or the size that's needed, the amount of air to have a viable wind farm or something, yeah. But with our large rural areas in Ypsi Township, is it?
No, because not just, it wouldn't be based on just the township area. It would have to be this geographical area of southeast Michigan. There's not enough wind generating in the area for the type of turbines I was building, 300 feet in the air. It's producing 2.3 megawatts. We probably couldn't get something like that. However, probably on a smaller scale, we could possibly. But it would have to be an analysis of how much wind average are we getting every day, every month, every year.
Okay.
To really understand.
I think I'm feeling some of the audience saying, "Solar, dummy, solar," because there's a lot of things going on. And like, can you tell me? I know I see it's coming. I'm not super informed, but I know that I've seen some solar panels, and I know there's some good organizations that are doing some solar things. You know.
I don't know of the organizations specifically that are doing that, but I know that it's coming. I mean, because the Ypsi City has some solar panels over, I think it's Clark Road area. So I could see that happening in the township as well when companies start to come this way.
So I know you started out in, like I said, with township, and we're also UAW. Both my parents were UAW members. Both grandfathers.
Good people. Good people.
Yeah. And I'm proud I stay up on the UAW Local 735, which was at that hydromatic and powertrain plant on the Willow Run site.
That's right.
So, just really passionate about that. And so was that your first step into, civic life? Or
Yeah, I'd have to say working with the UAW is what really got the wheels turning. That there's a little bigger picture we need to deal with, which is our communities. I got hired in 2012 with Ford. By 2013, 14, I was getting active. I got elected as a trustee. We were doing a lot of good work in a lot of communities. I quickly learned that if you're going to be a union activist, you're probably going to have to be a political activist as well, because things are so tied together.
When you say some of the good work here, what were some of the things you guys were doing?
Giving out, we do a lot of fundraisers so that we can donate back to the community, but giving out sleeping bags to the homeless, doing a lot of youth activities, things like that.
I'm thinking, and I hope my mother doesn't get angry with my father, but I remember it was great around Christmas time. I mean, because both my parents, good. That was and you said you're doing the electrical apprentice program. My father was an electrician.
Oh, okay.
So I had a really comfortable lifestyle growing up, but it was great to go to the toy giveaway.
Oh yeah. Toys for Tots and our adopted child programs. We're giving away, a lot of good things at that time to needy families that may not have otherwise had at Christmas, and so just little things like that we always try to get involved with. But obviously, like I mentioned, we were doing some of these things are being done in other counties, Wayne County, maybe some in Washington County, but I wasn't doing a lot in Ypsilanti. And that's when I said, let me get more involved in Ypsilanti. Let me see what's going on in the community. I started going to my township board meetings, Washington County Board of Commissioners meetings. Let me go and see what's really happening. And that's kind of when I realized that I think I can do this too. I think I can help make these decisions. I grew up here. I should probably be one of the people that could potentially have a good say on how I think the community should turn out.
And I'm going to be talking a lot about 68% in the coming weeks and such. But one thing about even that 68% and the whole electorate, nobody's showing up at township meetings. People, our community, and for a lot of good reasons, and for some bad ones, or I don't know, good reasons. Well, a lot of justifiable reasons. Just the stress of life. It's hard in this area. I mean, and with kids and a mortgage and the grind and single parents and such. And then also seeing or a disconnect too. That doesn't help in engagement.
Right, that's true.
When people vote a certain way and it doesn't seem like it's listened to. But I want to concede though, because I haven't been. I read agendas and such and everything that I heard, but that's not been.
I know you read the minutes and things, and so you can know what's going on. Which is why we try to make sure we're posting those. And then something we've also done is we try to add to the website the audio of our meetings, so people can maybe listen on the podcast or while they're driving, and maybe they're moving around with the children, but they want to listen. So that's something that we've done. The next level we want to get to is video, like some municipalities already do. The county does, things like that. So that's the next level, but it's the cost associated with that. But we're looking into it.
How soon is the audio from last Tuesdays available? Or
it should be available I think once we approve the minutes at our next board meeting, then the audio should be available. So,
and I attended some Ypsi City Hall meetings and such, and I am going to start attending board of trustees meeting, but because the first time I went in City Hall was as a Cub Scout.
Oh wow!
Yes, and it said City Hall in that building, and it's in that same building. Mm-hmm. And so it was love for that building and real nostalgic, and it's so cool how accessible the city government is. You can just speak to anyone, mm-hmm. find out real in-depth issues. So I can't wait to start attending the board. Yeah. The board of trustees.
Our board of trustees in Ypsi Township, they're pretty accessible as well. Mm-hmm. If you reach out to them, they most likely will respond. I think the biggest, it could just be the name itself. Maybe there's a history there. Cities have city councils. Yeah. Townships have board of trustees. City council, everyone is always trying to go to the city council meetings. It sounds like, and people aren't really too sure, what is this board of trustees, And so I think just the name itself kind of, people don't get as active at the board level as they do at the city council. However, they have the same functions as
Yeah. There's not a township. I was, I don't know. Civic Center.
Yeah. Oh. It doesn't have the same ring as a city hall, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Is it exactly? Yeah, the city hall is a civic center also, but I don't know.
I think back in the day, it actually was called the Township Hall, which was over on Ecourse Road way back in the 60s, 70s. Mm-hmm. And then it moved over to where it is now, and it's the Civic Center. Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of different things in that center, which is the 14B District Court, the library, and our city hall.
Yeah, I won't get it's what goes on inside is what's most important. But when I mentioned about Ypsi City Hall and from attending and getting that up close, and when you mentioned about video and audio, it made me remember there was a meeting that they didn't have any backup. They didn't have a staff person for video.
Oh, okay.
And such. Right. So they're looking for volunteers, and they're cash strapped. Mm-hmm. It's such a limited budget on our local governments and such.
Oh, so, the revenue sharing that comes from the state has decreased a lot over the years. Mm-hmm. And I will say one thing about our present governor. Mm-hmm. She is trying to put about a 3% increase into her new budget for local governments to receive a little bit more. Mm-hmm. It needs to be more than that, but at least she's trying. She recognized that we're not getting as much as we used to. So,
well, because I think, and you probably have experienced this too. So many people that live in the township don't even know that they live in the township.
That's true.
And explaining the difference.
And for many years, I was the same. I just say I live in Ypsilanti. That's it. And then you realize, well, you could be in Pittsfield Township, maybe you're Ypsi City, maybe you're Ypsi Township, maybe you're Superior Township. It's all the Ypsilanti area, but as you get older, you realize that, or I should say more engaged. As you get more engaged and realize that there's boundaries.
Yeah, and that, that you have no effect on Ypsilanti City elections.
That's correct. or Ypsi City business.
Yeah, and those city got that. It's a different government. Mm-hmm. It's worth, it's really important. What do you think people, besides knowing that they live in the township, what should they know about why is township government important?
Township government's important. I would say the same as any city is important. Your local government is really what's going to govern a lot of your everyday life. Your fire and police, local government. Your parks, your recreation that's available is governed by that local government. Your roads, what projects actually get completed, and a lot of funding has to come from the local government as well. So whether you believe it or not, local government is extremely important to your everyday life as soon as you walk out the door.
Yeah, I think because of that lack of knowledge about how it works and the functions, I think something like the Nexus Pipeline that's already there, that could be a good tool. Like looking back, when did that first come on the radar? Like when was that?
It first came
about.
I
was in the country and
It first came about before I was on the board.
Okay.
I got on the board 2016. I think July of 2016, there was a resolution presented to the board to pass a resolution to go against the Nexus Pipeline. I think they tabled it to get a little more information, and then in August of 2016, they passed a resolution to say they don't want it. And then we had a lot of resident input to send up to those other entities. But it must have been on the radar, I would say, probably at least a year before that, a year and a half on the radar.
So was the township's authority overruled by the state, or was it federal? Federal, yeah, obviously.
Overruled by the federal, and local government, it's not a need to get into partisan politics as much. However, on the state and federal level, it becomes very important on what your beliefs are. And that FERC, Federal Energy Regulation Committee, they have been appointed mostly by Republican presidents, and therefore they pretty much rubber stamp every pipeline that comes around the country, really. I think it was less pipelines that were approved under some of our Democratic presidents. So we kind of knew what was going to happen, but we still tried to fight it.
I'm trying to focus on which level, who's the bad guy, which level for the Nexus Pipeline, or who just and the bad guy. Since what is the level of government?
Federal.
Individual. Yeah. Thank you again. I forgot. But so and it was the FERC commission that did it.
Yes. They had the final approval.
And that was under the Bush administration?
No, that was actually under this Trump administration, actually, because as soon as he got on, he actually approved.
But the Nexus Pipe,
it hadn't been approved until 2017. It was starting the process. Applications being presented by their company, Nexus company, and I forgot their parent company.
Okay.
Things were in motion. It didn't get approved until the Trump administration appointed the people to finalize the FERC commission.
Okay.
Because I think it was actually a dead split. It was an even vote. They were missing one or two more votes. And once he approved, they rubber stamped a lot of projects.
I'd love to see the donation train.
Yeah, right.
They spent a lot of money. See, I posted they spent $100,000 on the Rosie the Riveter donation. Well, they gave a donation to the Yankee Air Museum, and I can't remember another historical organization, and then pumping Rosie the Riveter all around.
Right.
And that's what $100,000 does for you, and you can get a pipeline for a little bit more. I guess, what are some of the issues that you are most passionate about in this area?
I would say the main passion that I have right now is trying to get a recreation facility, a real recreation facility on the eastern part of Washtenaw County. As you all know, probably everyone has to leave the township, leave Ypsilanti to go to some of these big recreation facilities. They're going to Ann Arbor for a couple of them. They're going to Romulus. They're going to Canton. We don't really have anything right here on the eastern part of the county. And so that's kind of my passion right now. It may be a little more long-term. We are in the talks right now, we finally got some people at the table that might want to listen from the county. So we're hoping that it plays out right for this part of the county.
What can the public do to help you out?
Actually, I would say right now, Washtenaw County Parks and Rec, they have been, I think they've had 2 public hearings or public meetings to unveil their plan for the next few years. I would say the public can voice their opinion before this plan is in place to let them know we need funds to come over to the eastern part of the county. We don't just need $1 million. We actually, if we want a real recreation facility, we need a good $15 million to do this. So. Gosh,
there's only so much time in the day.
Funny thing is, so the Water Street issue. This is actually going to be that was actually the site that they were looking at originally to put something there. But obviously, the kind of the history what happened. It fell through, And these funds should be available. However, when you talk to people at the county, these funds aren't available anymore. They've been allocated other places. So things like that is why we have to keep pushing. No, those funds are still there, or you can get some more funds.
And I'm not accusing any corruption or anything, but there was a story on the NPR a few months ago, and it was about municipalities of a certain size that had a local newspaper, but then lost it, and it was a longitudinal study of about 20 years. And what they had found that in those, and I wish I could, if it was some 30,000 or 50,000, but just if you do NPR local newspaper loss, in cities that had lost their local newspaper, it was one of the surprising effects were that the cost of borrowing money in terms of their credit rating went down. So that just a few percentage points could translate in tens of millions of dollars for a municipality.
Right.
That, and also just incidents of corruption, convictions and things. So just hard data about the effects, and that's the most negative impact.
Right. And the visibility of what's going on in that particular community.
Yeah.
Ypsilanti Township, we're doing a lot of good things, handling a lot of business, but the only thing that I see a lot of times on MLive may be the negative that comes out of Ypsilanti Township, crime, and which is why actually Ypsilanti Township, we about a year and a half ago, we hired or got a contract with Concentrate on the ground, and we wanted them to promote the good things in Ypsilanti Township and Ypsilanti. They're doing the whole Ypsilanti City, Ypsilanti area,
right?
Because the city did the same thing, contracted them to find the good stories because we know they're there.
Yeah.
But maybe one entity isn't promoting that, or as I talked to someone today, resources are strapped, and MLive and the folks there, we don't have a real newspaper anymore, and so they can't get everyone to get everywhere. So we have to kind of take that initiative to find out who can get everywhere and what stories are really here. So
absolutely, and I saw that exchange you had with someone from Concentrate, and I really appreciate Concentrate, and because there's not enough good stories and such. From a journalism perspective, I think a lot of people don't know that about the contract, and that they're specifically that's their intent, is to promote positive stories.
Right.
And I think that's the issue. I don't know if it's an issue. I don't even like talking about it that way because it's good stories.
Yeah, it's good
but I guess it is. I know it's important that that's out there, and that because some people may think that that's a substitute for just solid, objective journalism from an editorial standpoint.
Right.
And not to say, I think I don't want to impugn, criticize them, but I just want, we need just clear, down the line, unassociated independent media, and we can't be get mistaken about that.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
But it's tough. What I was going to say, and that's something that I've been appreciating more, is getting out more, is just with public officials and out in the community, and all just the nice, good people that you meet, that you might strongly disagree with.
We'll all disagree at some point in time.
Yeah. Well, in journalism, that's what I was bringing. I've always been such a huge critic of MLive. There's some nice people that work there too. You sit out and be, well, they're not that bad, but still, it's not enough. It's not enough, and it's not an accurate representation of particular areas when you only report crime statistics or very little of other things.
Or I'll give you another example. Sometimes it'll be something positive, and it'll say Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti, but it won't just say Ypsilanti sometimes. I've noticed that also. Yeah. They have to throw the Ann Arbor in to get, I guess, publicity or some clicks. I don't know, but they just find that funny.
I haven't seen it recently, but I know at times we've gotten hit with, if it's some, if it was in Superior Township, which is But it's not an Ypsi Township.
Yeah, right.
You know, I mean, those are our brothers and sisters. It's
Yeah.
Spirit Township.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A big love to it. But I mean, just not showing a lack of concern for accuracy and a disregard for how important it is to report the whole story,
right?
Or for a more a broader perspective on the aspects of community life.
Yeah, I think someone mentioned this also when the Lincoln basketball team won recently, state championship, first time in their school history.
Yeah,
and it said, Ypsilanti Lincoln, and someone said, well, that's really Augusta Township, why would you call it Ypsi Lincoln? And there was some confusion, some arguments, some good dialogue really to realize, hey, there are boundaries, and what do you call it? So just a situation like that but it was good for the Ypsilanti area, I will say. We got some good publicity there. So
it's so important. It's so important because I mean, if you don't even understand where you live at,
right, yeah.
and who's representing you and what they're and how it's going to impact your life,
right?
I think of I can't remember who did that quote, but democracy is ruled by the people,
right?
But if the people are ignorant and uninformed,
that's true.
You have a mess,
yeah.
Or you have something else, or you have a vacuum, you have a void that market interests, other interests, other things are going to fill.
Or you allow those who are at the table to make all the decisions for you, because you're not being involved or engaged.
Absolutely, and that with the action this week, the big ballot initiative. Well, that's to see what I'm thinking about. but the vote by the township board this week on Tuesday, the Ypsilanti Township Board of Trustees voted to ban commercial recreational dispensaries for 1 year, is what the legislation says. This is despite in the previous election, 68% of the township, all 19 precincts, voting for Proposal 1 that allowed it. And I am leading a ballot initiative, organizing people. We have a small group now in contact with people from the cannabis industry, other township residents. We need more township business owners to speak that are among that 68%. And I'm going to be reaching out to you. One of I said when announcing it, motivated by democracy, economic development, and equity and criminal justice. And that's the truth. I'm not super excited about cannabis as a motivating issue, but it brings people's attention to city, township government. It brings people attention to the election. And it also gives an opportunity for us as a community, a township, to organize and start talking to each other. When I'm talking to people when I'm talking out in the community and asking people what they think about cannabis and different issues, I find I talk about a multitude of things, and I get that contact, and I find out
community engagement.
Yeah,
right.
And that's why I'm so excited about the ballot initiative, because democracy, 68% voted for it. Economic development, no one said it's a windfall. I don't know how much tax revenue, but I want the Ypsilanti Township to get every penny that it's due. And the reason I say equity and criminal justice is because of the language that was in the full Proposal 1, and the language that was part of the genesis, it was in the genesis of it. From the original stages, they wanted to address communities that had been disproportionately impacted by marijuana prohibition and law enforcement. And looking within our township and looking within the county and seeing how marijuana prohibition and law enforcement has affected 48198 and 48197. So those, what I said in that post, those are the motivations, and I think it's so important, and it's exciting because there's so many people that love the township, that care about it. that have no idea about township government,
right.
And this is bringing them out.
Yeah. You can look at the numbers, and it brought them out.
Yeah.
I remember being at the polls working the election. I was an election inspector, and guy comes in. I'm checking his name, make sure he's registered, and he was so upset that he hadn't registered enough time, and he was not we end up letting him do a provisional ballot, so that way the clerk can go through and see how maybe he did, maybe something got lost in the records. But he was there solely for Proposal 1. He said, "I'm just here to vote for the marijuana." He didn't know about anything else in the ballot, but he was focused. And there's a lot of people motivated who came out to vote for that proposal. And it was a lot of people who voted for different reasons for it. I've actually personally voted in favor of the proposal for the criminal justice reform aspect of it, like you mentioned.
Ooh, all right. See,
that was the main reason I voted for it. Outside of potential economic stimulus that could come to some communities. But that criminal justice part, it was the main piece I voted in favor, because I know too many people who have been locked up on a lot of petty crimes, some people who got long sentences that they shouldn't have gotten, extensive, and so it just needs to be reformed. And I think that it played out right, because I think the governor's already starting to get a list of potential sentences that she's going to release. And
we're going to go. How long can you stay? I know you're a family man, and I started late. Do you have another 30 minutes?
I got another 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess I forgot to mention that too in my intro, my bio. I'm married. I'm married. This is my 7th year being married, and we have 4 children together. So thought I mentioned that. I forgot to mention that in my bio.
Yeah, but you can start it out when you show it. Make sure they watch it for the middle. It's a good thing we started late. Like that. You have a beautiful family. I think it would be a great ebony cover. Like that, Ebony.
It was actually on my campaign literature a little bit too. During the election.
You see how mine is, because as a campaign manager, I should have told you. Want to be campaign manager. So I don't think I managed. But that's so exciting, and that's the reason why I wanted to check that. One of the main reasons that you supported it was the criminal justice aspect. Right. That's what excites me about the organizing and the ballot initiative, and talking about that in the language, because it shines a light on the disproportionate effect, not only marijuana arrests but just law enforcement.
Right.
Period. So and have that talked about. And I'm really excited that there's Eli Savitt is going to run for Washington County prosecutor.
Oh yeah, that's right.
On a great criminal justice reform agenda.
Yeah, reform. And I actually met with him the other day, and we had a real good conversation. I learned a lot about him, and I think he has some really good ideas to move forward.
Have you gotten a chance to check out Larry Krasner?
I did. Philadelphia? Yeah. I'm glad you sent that to me. Really progressive.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of folks there who may have been a part of the status quo just couldn't understand. They just couldn't fathom what he was talking about on why are we helping some of these people? Because a lot of these, issues, these crimes are coming from underlying issues. Let's address these issues, and then we probably will see crime go down.
That's why I want to help Eli get out and talk to as many people. I mean, when he says he wants to stop the criminalization, he's going to stop the criminalization of poverty in Washington County. I'm not naive. There's incredible discretion within the county prosecutor's office.
I didn't realize that. So.
Day one, you can start requesting bail.
Go
ahead. What else? What do you?
No, I was going to say I didn't realize it either how much. Because he was saying some different things, some ideas, and I said, doesn't that come from these other levels? And he said some things, but this, and this. Like you said, not having to request all this bail all the time, unless it's an actual, real maybe a travel, it was some kind of travel violation or
risk of flight risk.
But a lot of this small stuff, you have to be proven guilty. Your innocence is proven guilty, and the system isn't quite set up that way sometimes. Or if you have money, now you can get out. If you don't have money, so then you're obviously targeting a certain community, and it's crazy.
And, you know, and how just, it's fun. It's great just to be out here and be able to be yourself. It's like before the show, you told me you can ask me anything you want,
yeah,
you know?
I'm be honest.
And Eli, before, you know, he was the same way. And I was like, I don't want to mess you up. But he said, ask me anything you want. And with him, I wanted to ask him about the hypocrisy and the plea bargaining. How you're pressured by a prosecutor to take this, or they're gonna really mess up your life.
Right. Throw the book at you.
Yeah. So you go in front of a judge and say that that you can't. I thought of this all by myself. No pressure,
right.
But no, yeah. But you're swearing to this, and you're pleading guilty with no pressure and with no coercion and such. And that's just strikes to the height of hypocrisy, and it affects the people, the most vulnerable people without income, with low income and without representation. Right. And that's something that he can, a progressive-minded prosecutor like himself and others, Chicago, Philadelphia, Larry Krasner is the best example. Yeah. But it's progressive and new, but he's not alone. It matches the electorate here.
Right, right. I think the electorate itself is very progressive.
Yeah.
The county projects a progressive attitude. However, I think sometimes certain policies may be behind the times. I think it could be more progressive. It could be a little better, but we're moving in the right direction. And I think as we get people in the right positions, we'll see it move maybe faster than it may be moving now. You know?
This is, I'm smiling because I was going to ask you, what's progressive?
I gotta stop using that word. No. Many perceptions of what that is, you know.
Well, we've heard someone say it that way. What is your idea? Because who I mentioned that asked me that, I paused, and I usually don't pause, especially but it was because I really think for township politics, things are really specific, and what happens so much is that the national and state conversation obscures what's really nobody's paying attention to the township.
That's true.
You know, so we're talking about states, so that's why I paused and I didn't want to answer because it's different. I want to find out what people think of the township. People don't know they live here. You know, we do see when they go vote.
Yeah,
you know, we get an idea, and you know about the voting numbers and such. So even that other extra people, that huge group. You know, that's what it's really interesting to see.
Right.
You know, so see what they say is progressive. You know, we're gonna find out. You know,
I think when you look at the 3 ballot initiatives that were on the previous election, that those were progressive issues. You know, the third, I think, proposal 3 was opening up same-day registration for voting, allowing for any reason absentee voting. Making sure our veterans are getting their ballots on enough time to send them in, and that's progressive. The proposal 2 was the redistricting of the maps, progressive. Even though that should have been a long time ago, at least someone got the energy to get into the community and get that on the ballot. Proposal 1, of course, marijuana. So I think those were 3 progressive, and that it could be a reason why here in the state of Michigan we had record turnouts. You know.
What proposal 3? The third one was because the first cannabis, second was the gerrymandering.
Yep. And then the third one was for basically voters' rights.
Okay, so that was separated in.
Yeah.
So I was mistaken in that.
Yep.
It was also 3. I know Jan Bendor was really involved. I know in the proposal 2. She's a local activist that came out, and I know some of the people in the audience will recognize her. And Jamie Lau was one of the co-authors of Proposal 1. He was one of the guests on my show before too. So that's one of the great things about local government and getting involved and finding out what's going on. I mean, you can talk to people that write legislation that are so informed and passionate, and there's just a wealth of information and a whole story going on.
Oh yeah,
that's affecting your life.
Things are still moving. You know, even though at our board meetings there may not be many residents, we're still taking care of a lot of business. $36 million budget, tax dollars. We have to make sure we're being good fiduciaries of that, those dollars. So,
do you average single-digit attendance at township board meetings? I should do it. Does the township average?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a consistent 2, 3, 4 residents that will be there. If there's a big issue, we'll see double-digit numbers come out. But if there's no issues, and that could be taken 2 different ways. Some people might say, oh, you must be doing your job. People aren't really coming out until there's a real issue. Then there's the other side. Well, a lot of people are just busy and they're not able to make it, or they don't know when your meetings are, so you can see kind of both sides.
Yeah, I do. The township they want people there. They promote, they do all the things to get people out.
Right, yeah.
It's there. So that's 68%. You have to speak. You have to take advantage of the opportunity.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I will say that our neighborhood watch groups, pretty much most of our neighborhoods have a neighborhood watch.
I've done that
group.
And
I think there's 20 different groups maybe in the township, but those groups actually have good numbers in them, double-digit numbers to where people are active and involved, and that could be partially because we send out a notice at the beginning of the year. Here's your dates for all your neighborhood watch meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the location.
I smile because double-digit just 10.
I know that's still bad when you think about the amount of residents we have.
But it's also, I'm really proud of the new West Willow Neighborhood Association. I was told by a township official that's by far it gets the largest turnout.
That one in Gulf Village.
Okay,
yeah.
We're better. No, that one. Love Gulf Village too. But they get like 20. 30 or 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 50 would be awesome in a new West Willow Neighborhood Association. Mm-hmm. But I'd say a solid 30. She said by far. So, and I was involved much more in the past in regular attendance. I'm still involved, but I haven't been attending regularly. But through that, and also a local nonprofit that I work with in outreach, I was able to go to many of the other township meetings. And yes, I didn't go to the Gulf Village one, but I saw like 15 would be tops, but the average,
I would say 15 to 20 would be average at Gulf Village, actually.
Oh, okay.
They actually get a good turnout.
Okay.
I would normally see 20. That's a good, yeah.
But that's a good tie-in to get back to the ban that was put in place, because I think a huge segment of that 32%. They're in those neighborhood meetings that we have.
That is true.
And you can really get that perception that, so to be fair to the township officials, they are hearing from some residents that they don't want that cannabis here, I
think there was a petition from one neighborhood where there was maybe 50 to 60 residents who signed off on saying, we don't want these commercial facilities in our township.
Yeah.
And it was brought up at the board meeting. However, one of our board members did mention that when you look at the numbers that came out of that precinct in November's election, it doesn't reflect this petition. This petition is probably on the 32% side versus maybe people who didn't get on that petition. I bet if there was another petition that went out to find out who really wants it, you might find that 68% in that area. So
yeah. It's good to know that and I'm sure all the board members are in favor of democracy and such. But I'm serious. I'm glad to see that you expressed it in this vote. It is ruled by the people, and I think it's really patronizing and undemocratic to think that people can make a decision that ignores what such a strong percentage of the people voted for. And I
understand both sides because I just be open, because I told you I'm be honest.
Yeah.
The ordinance came forth for first reading. I did vote in favor of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the other side of the argument is let's wait to see what the regulations are going to be from the state. And once they set their regulations, then we will release this ban and actually zone how we, according to these regulations. I understand that part. I understand both sides. After that first vote, I was able to speak with a lot of good, I'm not going to say good, a lot of residents in the township.
Okay.
A lot of residents in the township that, on both sides of the issue, it was an overwhelming majority that said, look, we understand why they wanted to vote that way. We don't believe you should do that. We don't believe you should vote that way. And I have to listen to the majority. I can't just say, well, I know what you're saying, but I know what's best for you. I don't want to do that. So in this particular issue, when the second reading came about, I had to vote no, because that's what the residents want. At the same time, I do believe that we can use this word progressive and start to craft zoning where we want these different facilities. Where do we want the growers? Where do we want the testing facilities? Where do we want the transporter? How many do we want? I think we can actually already have a committee set up and start these communications and be proactive. I'll use that word.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that, because that's what I think it should be happening right now.
Right. And then once the regulations come out, then if there's discrepancy where we can't go against this part of their regulator, okay, we adjust it and then we set it in place. We don't have to wait and then set it later.
Not yourself, but in the past, the reason why I always dismiss that argument about waiting is because what we do know is whatever comes out, the local body's going to have control and be able to zone.
Right, yeah.
Whatever happens.
Yeah.
That's a definite. So that's why I dismiss that argument. And then also because waiting, the dictates of the market, things are evolving right now. So that's all the more reason to be there, be present, and part of the conversation. Business interests, everybody else is, and it's a reality that's going to be here. It's going to be here.
It's not going anywhere.
And that's the learning process.
Right.
That's how you figure it out.
Right.
So,
we can, and just like our planning commission does, they vet a lot of these companies before they come into the township. Financially, their financial records are in order, and so we don't have to be so nervous on, is this going to be a bad company coming in? Really, when you think about this industry and some of these first licensees, they're coming with money. They got their stuff together. They were probably already involved in the medical part of it, because those are who are going to be licensed first, really. And so they probably are going to have things in order. But we can still vet them to make sure, because we don't want to say probably. But most likely they're going to be in order.
Whatever happens. Hello, you guys. I think a board member said, this is like any other issue. We zone.
Right, yeah.
We're going to zone it.
Yeah.
We're going to zone it. So,
that's true.
There's not going to be any grand white paper from Lansing that says you must put it here.
Right, yeah.
You must put it there.
I think you're going
to lose control.
Yeah, and I think under the Medical Act, there was a lot less control. And so I think that could also be some of the hesitancy of the rest of the board members that, okay, let's wait. At least we have control now, so we can do it kind of how we want to do it. Under the Medical Act, it was take this and that's it.
I didn't buy the wait and see, and it, for what I said, because you always have the local body is always going to have control, and then it's because I really fundamentally believe that the people that voted against it, they don't like cannabis. They don't want it here.
And
they really don't want to spend a lot of time on it. That's what I think.
Just go away.
Yeah, and that's I understand that as a personal feeling totally.
Right.
I mean, you probably got about 90% of my family like that. But you have to respect the will of the voters. And you have to be serious about it and do your due diligence.
Right.
And make a better argument than that.
Right. And as an elected official, you may still not want to do it how the people are saying. All you do is you have to be a little malleable. You have to be able to go with the time. Okay, they want us to do it like this. We don't really want to, but let's try. Let's try to go about it this way. Let's get the committee early, and okay, this is what we want.
And it goes against. I don't know. It goes against the national trend, the state trend. It's what the township voters voted for. Right. But there's such an opportunity because in talking with different people and different interests in the cannabis industry, surprisingly enough, they're cool. But I say that in the sense is that they don't want an adversarial relationship with anybody. They're dying to speak with the legislative body and have a discussion. And such.
Send them my way.
yeah.
I'll have a conversation with anybody. You see it on social media. I'll chime in. And it may not be. It could even not be in my best interest to speak my mind, but I'm going to let you know the truth, my truth.
Right. In no business, they don't want to come into a hostile environment. Right. And there's no need to, and it's actually. Well, that's enough about that. This isn't the cannabis show. Unless is there anything else? But I would really thank you. We're not closing the show, but I really thank you just for stepping up and representing the 68%. That's a lot.
I will say that the ordinance does have a sunset clause in there. It does have a sunset clause. And I almost... may have gone the other way because until I seen the date on it, being a year from now, I feel that may be too long, that we could benefit from getting some of these businesses. We already probably have an image of not being cannabis friendly, but if we try to have a better perception, maybe we can get some of these early growers, because I think they're going to be some of the first licensees, because there has to be product to put in the facilities, but we could have possibly gotten some of these early goers, So
I have no reason to believe that any board members are smokers at all or anything. But I wonder, it's a personal decision, but it's just always, when you look at the older electorate, when we go out, you see it tends to be older than just the average population that are voting. And I know there were a lot of new voters, but still,
yeah, the core voter electorate is a little older.
Yeah, and you go and you see that the leadership of the church community was overwhelmingly against it. Those congregants, those voters, they did something a little different.
That's the funny part, because you think the church, pastor. However, all these voters in your church did not vote the same way that you may be preaching, and that's okay that you're preaching. I'm not going against that at all.
Right.
But we have to come up into the times and realize, how can this be beneficial? What are the pros and cons? I think there's more pros than there's cons with this particular issue.
And, that number was because of knowing the electorate or having an idea about the electorate and that skewing older. I was so surprised at the 68% number. I thought maybe a little, just because of the electorate. I really think if you heard what the 55,000 people, it'd be 85, 90, maybe. But I was surprised at that number. And I think it really represents that a lot of people's public face might not be necessarily with the same in private, with the same attitude. It sure doesn't seem that way.
That's why I try to just be honest. That way I can have the same face, public, private, and then speak from my heart, And I'll just make a disclosure. I don't consume marijuana. I don't have no business stakes in it. So, and a resident actually at our previous board meeting, she got up and said, we need to make sure moving forward that we look at all the board members and make sure nobody has a stake in this business, and and understand what their background is or what their hand is in. So I just say, I don't have my hand in nothing. So I voted the way that I thought the residents would want me to vote.
And so, I don't have a financial interest. I do have a relationship, I have understanding about cannabis. And what I want to be really clear about in the ballot initiative or any of my actions, that it's going to be township led, and I want to inform and incredibly transparent. think I may have said, they're going to be a stooge for the cannabis industry or anything, But it is.
So like you said, democracy.
Democracy, and also and part of this process, and there were some thoughts about trying to get on the August ballot, but thinking, but we want to learn we want to be better educated on how the township people feel, and also figure out what is the best policy. Right. It is so many moving parts, and that's hence the need to not wait until everyone else is up to speed and has their setting, and then can dictate terms and such to, from an informed, strong perspective that represents the interests of the township. Right. That's what we're doing. Yeah. What are some because I'll let you get home to the beautiful family. What are some because you have an opportunity? I think a lot of people haven't seen you before. Right. Some other things you want to chat about, or big issues, or upcoming events, or something.
Well, in the summertime, there's lots of events going on. But I would just say that we have a lot of good nonprofits in the Ypsilanti area in general. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to get more involved with them to see, what are they doing and how can I help, just from a personal standpoint. As a board, we may not be able to, help financially. However, me personally, I can get more involved. And I would just say over this summer, that's when a lot of nonprofits are really picking up, doing a lot of things. And like I said, there's a lot of good stories in the township, and I just love to see people get more active and engaged. Mm-hmm. Our township board meetings, first and third Tuesdays. 5:00 is the work session. 7:00 is the board meeting. I know you can't get to every one of them, but whatever city, township you're in, try to make an attempt to not go to every one, but get to some of them throughout the year. Maybe try to schedule it in your calendar. In 3 months from now, I'm going to go to this meeting. Let me see what's going on that my elected officials are dictating with my tax dollars.
All right. Please do. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
Jimmie Wilson Jr. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be in touch about the ballot initiative, and listen to them. Come out and, support your township government. Support your township, your community. You guys have a great weekend. Bye-bye.